Imagine sitting down to a meal, savoring a beautifully grilled fish fillet, believing you're making a heart-healthy choice. Fish is often lauded for its lean protein and omega-3 fatty acids, essential for heart and brain health. However, not all fish are created equal, especially for those over 60. Some commonly consumed fish may harbor hidden risks that could impact your health over time. Very well health. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at filtering out toxins like mercury, which can accumulate from certain fish. This accumulation can subtly affect memory, the nervous system, and even heart health. It's crucial to be informed about which fish to avoid and which to include in your diet to maintain optimal health. Let's delve into 6 types of fish that older adults should approach with caution. 1. The hidden danger in a familiar fish, king mackerel. For many of us, especially those who grew up by the sea or with a strong seafood tradition, fish has always been a trusted part of our diet. It brings back memories of family meals, warm soups, and healthy living. But not all fish are created equal, and as we age, what we eat matters even more. King mackerel, once a prize catch on many dinner tables, carries a hidden risk that few talk about. This fish contains a high level of mercury, a toxic metal that doesn't just pass through our bodies. Instead, it builds up quietly over time. And for older adults, that's where the real concern begins. As we grow older, our bodies aren't as efficient at clearing out toxins. This means mercury can linger and slowly cause harm. The symptoms might start subtly, a little more forgetfulness, a bit of confusion, maybe some tingling in the hands or feet. Over time, this heavy metal can contribute to cognitive decline, nerve damage, and even increase the risk of heart disease. You might be thinking, so what's the alternative? I still want to eat healthy. The good news is, there is a safer choice. Atlantic mackerel offers similar health benefits. It's rich in omega-3 fatty acids, good for the heart, and supports brain function, but without the dangerous mercury levels. It's a simple switch that can make a big difference. 2. A silent threat from the deep, tilefish. Imagine going out to a nice seafood restaurant, the kind you've loved for years, and ordering a fresh white fish. You think you're making a healthy choice. But what if that white fish is tilefish from the Gulf of Mexico? Tilefish may sound harmless, but it's one of the most mercury-laden fish in the ocean. In fact, it ranks among the highest in mercury content. For younger people, that might not be a major concern. But for those in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, it can quietly wreak havoc on the body. High mercury exposure can mimic the signs of aging: memory lapses, slower thinking, even symptoms similar to dementia. It's frightening to imagine that something as simple as a piece of fish could contribute to such serious issues. That's why it's so important to ask questions when dining out. If the menu says white fish, don't be afraid to ask exactly what kind. Tilefish should be avoided, but safer options like cod or haddock are much gentler on the body and still taste wonderful. Making informed choices like these is part of protecting our health, not just for today, but for the years still ahead. Because aging well isn't just about living longer, it's about living better. 3. Swordfish. It was during one of those quiet dinners at home that Mr. Thompson, a retired teacher in his early 70s, learned something that startled him. He had always loved the robust, meaty taste of swordfish. For years, it was a weekend treat, a thick slice grilled just right, seasoned with lemon and herbs. But lately, his hands had started to tremble slightly. His doctor had been monitoring his kidney function. No one had suspected the culprit might be his favorite fish. You see, swordfish is a large predatory fish. Over its long life in the ocean, it slowly accumulates mercury, a heavy metal that doesn't go away. And when someone like Mr. Thompson enjoys it regularly, the mercury doesn't just pass through the body. It builds up silently, affecting vital systems, the kidneys, the nervous system, even the brain. For older adults, especially those already dealing with high blood pressure or mild cognitive decline, this can be dangerous. The effects may not be immediate, but over time, they become harder to ignore. That's why his doctor recommended a safer alternative: wild-caught trout or pollock. These fish offer a similar firm texture and satisfying flavor, but without the heavy burden of mercury. They're gentler on the body and still enjoyable at the dinner table. A way to keep the pleasure without the price. 4. Big-eye tuna. For Mrs. Alvarez, sushi nights with her grandchildren were a cherished tradition. Laughter around the table. Small bites of delicately prepared sashimi. It was a way to stay close to her family. But one evening, after a particularly indulgent dinner featuring big-eye tuna, she felt unusually dizzy and weak. A trip to the doctor revealed two concerning things: high levels of mercury and a minor bacterial infection from undercooked fish. At age 68, her immune system simply couldn't fight as hard as it used to. Big-eye tuna, often found in sushi and sashimi, is one of the higher mercury fish. Eating it raw adds another layer of risk. For younger people, these dangers are less severe. But for seniors, even a minor bacterial infection can lead to serious complications. And mercury? It doesn't just disappear. It accumulates quietly and can damage the body over time. That's why the advice was clear. Switch to Kim-Lite tuna, especially skipjack tuna. It contains much less mercury, and when cooked thoroughly, it eliminates the risk of harmful bacteria. The flavor is milder, yes, but safety, peace of mind, and health are far more important. Mrs. Alvarez now enjoys tuna sandwiches with her grandchildren instead of sushi. The laughter is still there. The joy remains. But now, so does her well-being. 5. Farmed salmon. Hidden danger beneath the surface. John, a 72-year-old retired teacher, had always believed he was eating healthily. Every week, he grilled salmon for dinner, thinking it was a heart-healthy choice. But he didn't know that the salmon he was eating was farmed, raised in crowded pens overseas, where oversight was weak and cost-cutting often trumped safety. Over time, John began to feel more tired than usual. His joints ached, and his doctor noticed signs of chronic inflammation. After a series of tests and conversations, it became clear that the food he trusted, specifically the farmed salmon, might be doing him more harm than good. These farmed fish, especially from regions without strict food regulations, often contain harmful chemicals like PCBs and dioxins. These are industrial toxins known to disrupt immune function and increase the risk of long-term health problems, particularly for older adults. For someone in their golden years, avoiding unnecessary inflammation is vital. It affects everything, from joint health to memory and energy levels. That's why the shift to wild-caught Alaskan salmon makes a real difference. Unlike farmed fish, wild salmon grow in their natural environment and are not exposed to the same levels of pollutants or artificial feed. The difference may not be visible on the plate, but it matters deeply to your body, especially when your body needs extra care. John made the change, and though the road to better health is never instant, he started noticing the difference. Less fatigue, more clarity, and above all, the peace of mind that comes from knowing he was finally nourishing his body, not poisoning it. 6. Imported catfish, when cheap comes at a cost. Marianne, 68, loved cooking catfish the way her father used to in Louisiana, golden, crisp, and seasoned just right. But living on a fixed retirement income meant she often chose what was affordable. That meant catfish imported from overseas, cheap, plentiful, and always in the freezer aisle. Then came a sudden infection after a minor cut on her hand wouldn't heal. The antibiotics didn't work as expected. Her doctors raised a concern. Could she have been exposed to drug-resistant bacteria? They began to look closely at her diet and found that imported catfish might be the culprit. In some countries, catfish are raised in water that doesn't meet basic sanitation standards. Worse, banned antibiotics, long prohibited in the U.S., are still used, leading to fish that carry bacteria capable of resisting treatment. For someone older, with a slower immune response and more vulnerability to infections, this is not a minor issue. What seems like a simple dinner choice could quietly undermine one's health. The solution is simple, yet powerful: U.S. farmed catfish. These fish are raised under rigorous guidelines that prohibit harmful drugs and prioritize clean, healthy farming conditions. They may cost a little more, but they offer peace of mind, something Marion now values above all. After switching, she not only feels safer, but also finds that the flavor, rooted in clean water and ethical farming, brings her closer to the meals of her youth. It was a quiet Wednesday afternoon, the kind where sunlight filters softly through the kitchen window, and the only sound is the ticking of the old clock on the wall. Margaret sat at the table, her fingers curled gently around a warm cup of tea. At 72, she had lived through seasons of joy, challenge, and change. But these days, her mind often turned to one thing she had once taken for granted: her health. Her doctor had spoken gently during their last visit. "Your heart's doing fine, Margaret, but your cholesterol levels could be better. Let's think about what you're eating, especially the protein on your plate." That conversation stuck with her. So, with her usual determination, Margaret began looking for healthier choices, something kind to her body, but still simple, familiar, and satisfying. That's when she rediscovered fish. But not just any fish. She'd heard warnings from friends and news programs about mercury and pollutants, especially for people her age. So many things seem risky these days, she thought. But the more she read, the more she realized there were safer, nourishing options, ones that could support her heart, her memory, and even her joints. Each week, Margaret added one new type of fish to her meals. Here's what she found, and perhaps what you might find useful too. Wild-caught salmon. The first time she tried it, grilled with a touch of lemon, it reminded her of dinners she used to make for her late husband. Rich in omega-3 fatty acids and low in mercury, salmon helped her feel fuller, calmer, and even improved the stiffness in her hands. Sardines. At first, she hesitated. They weren't exactly what she'd grown up eating. But when she learned sardines were packed with calcium, vitamin D, and heart-loving omega-3s, she gave them a try, served on whole grain toast with a slice of tomato. Surprisingly tasty and even better for her bones. Rainbow trout, a gentle-tasting fish, easy to cook and gentle on her stomach. It offered lean protein with low mercury, something her doctor had highlighted as a great option for her age. Atlantic mackerel, not to be mistaken for its cousin, king mackerel, which is high in mercury. This fish became one of Margaret's favorites. Its bold flavor reminded her of meals by the sea during vacations long past. Pollock, isn't this what they use in fish sticks? She mused one night. Yes, but it's also a low-mercury, versatile fish used in all sorts of dishes. She now uses it in homemade fish soup with carrots, onions, and a bit of dill. Cod and haddock. These mild, flaky fish were like old friends, reliable, familiar, and easy on her digestion. She bakes them now with a touch of olive oil and garlic, savoring how light yet comforting they are. Now, on most evenings, Margaret sits down to dinner not with worry, but with peace of mind. She doesn't eat fish every day, but just a few thoughtful changes have helped her feel stronger, more energetic, and more in control of her health. It's not about doing something fancy, she says. It's about doing something small, something gentle for your body and for yourself. To anyone in their 60s, 70s, or beyond who feels overwhelmed by the idea of changing their diet, Margaret would smile and say, start with one fish, one recipe, one evening. Your heart will thank you. And maybe, just maybe, you'll feel a little bit like yourself again. Making informed choices about the fish you consume is vital, especially as you age. By avoiding high-mercury fish and opting for safer alternatives, you can enjoy the health benefits of seafood without compromising your well-being. Always consult with healthcare professionals or nutritionists if you have concerns about your diet. Remember, it's not about eliminating fish from your diet, but about choosing the right types to support your health journey.